Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and on this video I wanted to share my thoughts on film, and I wanted to share my thoughts on black and white old movies, foreign language movies and animation. And basically what I wanted to talk about with people here is that why I believe people need to be more open-minded towards these films. And basically, I'm noticing a trend here with younger audiences where they'll refuse to watch things like old movies and black and white movies. And in my opinion, I think people really should be more open-minded to these films because, if we didn't have these films, where where do you think people like Christopher Nolan and Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese, where do you think they all got their ideas from? They If you really care about film, you will check these films out, because there's some of the best films I've ever experienced are filmed in black and white. I mean, I'll give a few examples. There's one called Citizen Kane that in my opinion is so gorgeous in black and white that I couldn't actually imagine ever watching that film in colour, because the way it's stylized, the way the lighting works in this film, it's just styled to perfection in black and white, in my opinion. And and there's also Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 film called Psycho, and that film just wouldn't look right in colour. In fact, they tried it, didn't they, in the 1990s, and it failed because Hitchcock intentionally shot the film in black and white, and it gave the film more of an atmosphere it gave it a really creepy kind of a look to it. And that the house looked more creepy because you seen the lights come when the lights come on, and the way they would use lighting in these films, it just stands out so much. And and some older ones as well. I've had the privilege of watching things like Taxi Driver and Vertigo and Rear Window and films like that. Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, and that film was made in 1968, and yet it rivals, in my opinion, it not only rivals the CGI heavy blockbusters you get today, it looks better than them. And the reason why is because there's more practical effects put into that film. He really cared about the visual style of his film, and that was the end product of it. It just looked incredible. And another thing I wanted to talk about as well is foreign language film, because I can't, hand on heart, I can't say that I'm that well versed in foreign language film, which I'm sorry to say, but I will try my best to check out anything that anything like that, because I really do like original stories. And sometimes some of the best movies I've seen are in a foreign language. There was a film called Jean de Fleuret, which it's comparable to The Godfather at times. It's a French foreign language film, and it's about this the second film in particular called Manon. I can't remember. But anyway, this film is like a revenge plot. It's like a revenge plot that goes on, because her father was killed, and she just has to scheme and plot the revenge on these people. And it's a great film. And of course, Pan's Labyrinth. That film's one of the most creative fantasy films I've ever seen, and it was like a dark, twisted version of Alice in Wonderland to me. And I loved how they had the fantasy elements as well as the war elements in that film, and everything about that film really shone. And another great foreign Guillermo del Toro film is The Devil's Backbone. His films, his Spanish films, in my opinion, are so creepy, and they have an atmosphere to them, and there's just something truly great about these films. And of course, there's anime as well. These films sound better, in my opinion, in their original Asian form. I mean, something like Grave of the Fireflies, for instance, I thought was much better in the Asian dub than it was in the English dub. And the English dub to it's competent and it gets the story going, but in my opinion there was more emotion and more heart, and it felt a lot more driven when I watched the Asian version, because there was more emotion there, that you could relate more to these characters, because they were, you know, it's a more World War Two in Japan is going to be more passionate to people in Japan, and this is highlighted so well in this film, and it's one of, I mean, it's one of the masterpieces of animated films in my opinion, and that, of course, that's going to lead me to animated films. And you know, several people, whatever kind of animation there is, animation is an art, and it's okay. Yeah, occasionally you're going to get crap like the Smurfs, and you know, I mean, I'm with you on that. Don't feed kids crap. I mean, that's an idea I champion. I don't believe that kids learn anything from junk like this, and I think, but I do believe though that you need. I think people need to be more open-minded about animation, because it's a beautiful, true art form. I mean, look at films like Sleeping Beauty, for instance. I mean, this was an animated film that came out in the 1950s from Walt Disney, and it's one of his most beautiful films ever. Every shot in that film kind of looked like a painting to me. It was like a stained glass painting. It just looked so beautiful, and it's, you know, I mean, I was so taken by that film visually. And you know, there's other great Disney anime. I mean, Fantasia. What about how incredible was Fantasia, where you would see them playing classical music, and they used abstract art to get the story going in the first song. It just, you know, the abstract art kind of conveyed emotion to this opening scene. I think it was a Sebastian Bach song, and of course there was that Night on Bald Mountain, which was just that scene, and then followed by Ave Maria. It was just so incredible, when it was some of Disney's darkest animation, and I loved this. And of course there's you know, again, Studio Ghibli, who have wonderful imaginative children's work, and of course not all animation is for kids either. I mean, I've seen one called Waltz with Bashir, which was a war documentary told in flash animation, and that was a great animated film. And you know, it's another one that's in a foreign language as well. And you know, the point is that when you check these kind of films out, you're broadening your horizons in film, and this is important. If you're serious about film, and you seriously say that you love film, you need to check these films out, because these are all individually these are all works of art in their own way. And I personally wish more people would watch some of the older films in particular, because these are the films. Without these films, you wouldn't have Quentin Tarantino, you wouldn't have Christopher Nolan, you wouldn't have Tim Burton, you wouldn't have Steven Spielberg. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't have them like they are today. You know, and that's these directors are heavily influenced by old filmmakers, and that's why these films are so important. And you know, I mean, again, Disney's animated films are now so popular that they've started to remake them and turn them into live action films, which I'm not particularly happy about all the time. But you know, I mean, it just shows you that all of these forms of animation, all of these forms of film are influential. I mean, I believe Stanley Kubrick often cited Disney films in his films as well. So it's, you know, again, these films are very influential, and they're important. And basically, if you call yourself a film buff, you know, try and catch these movies. I mean, what I want to do here is create a discussion and talk about films that are in all of these characters, films that are in all of these categories that may be just a little bit obscure. I mean, I'll name one from each, I think, and let other people decide. I'll say for black and white, I'll go with Shadow of a Doubt, which is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, and that's one of his most underrated films. For foreign language, I'm going to go with, it's a French Three Colours trilogy, but these three films I thought were just magnificent, and they had a beautiful style to them, and I loved those. For animation, I'm going to go with maybe Don Bluth's The Secret of Nim, because I think over time, I don't think people appreciate how good Don Bluth's animation was in the 1980s. It was so creative and original, and for anime, I think I'm gonna go with a more recent one for anime. I'll choose The Wind Rises, which is Miyazaki's last film, and I think more people need to see that, and people need to see these films, and you know. So let me know in the comments. Let's talk about these kind of films, and films that maybe have just fallen under the radar in all of these categories, and you know why you think these films are important. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you soon.